more controlled space. So another thing that I will use, and this is more, this actually works individually and classroom. So all of these things. So this does too. So you can use this when a kid, just one individual kid is having a hard time, or when you need to get some order in the group again, you need some more like focus, right? You can use this for that too as a group. So the wishing stone is another activity like this, and it's a manipulative. So I like to use something very smooth, sort of flat. This one is perfect because it's from the lake where we live. It's my 6-year-old daughter found it. So it's got some rings around it from being worn. It's really beautiful. So finding something that is visually stimulating, that is smooth and soothing to the touch, right? And then you're connecting those things to the emotion and the feeling. And what I do with this is use it as a way to break if we've got some sort of like negativity happening, if there's, inevitably when you've got groups of kids, there's bound to be some drama, right? So in times that feel kind of highly charged, I get the wishing stone out, and everybody takes a turn, closing their eyes, rubbing it between their hands, really feeling it. They can look at it too. And then what I encourage kids to do is to make a small wish and a big wish. So something that's really immediate. So your small wish is going to be something, what do you wish was different right now? Or what do you wish you could change about right now? And then a big wish. So what do you wish for your life to be different? Or what do you wish that you get to do or see or have? So something like that. So a big wish and a small wish. But making sure that if we're using it to break some sort of bad energy in the classroom or in the group space, making sure that there's an opportunity to focus on what might they wish for right then in the immediate, because that brings them back to a place where they have some control and some agency. So that's our little wishing stone. You can also obviously use it individually for kids who are having a hard time. One thing that happens when we're teaching yoga and mindfulness to kids, so you probably know this from your own practice, is that yoga can bring out some really emotional things for people, and it does that for kids too. So in those times where you start to see, and you'll be doing some group processing too, so in those times where you begin to see some kids really engaging in their emotions, right? You'll get some sad kids at yoga. It's not meant to be always like this fun, joyful, like frolicking in the flowers kind of experience. We all know this, and it's not any different for kids. Yoga and mindfulness can bring out some really strong emotions, positive and negative, and we do it so that we can work through those emotions and process them and figure out what's happening in our bodies, right? And we want to encourage that for kids too. So this is a technique that I use to remind kids that it's okay to have those feelings and that you get to be in control. And some of what you control is what you think about, right? So you get to choose what you think about. And this wishing stone is a real reminder of choosing your wishes and choosing where you put your energy. And that's how I use these a lot. Okay, and then I'm here to tell you, if you don't already know this, I'm here to tell you that many kids, almost all kids that I know, respond to physical touch from someone that they trust in really incredibly transformative ways. So one key thing, and we've talked about this, building relationship and building rapport and building trust with kids. So when you're in a space where kids really trust you, you can engage them through physical touch in really impactful ways. And a lot of people feel in some of our cultures, we have a real aversion to grown-ups like touching and showing affection for kids. And I think that's really a shame. I think, when we give consent and when we teach consent and ask for consent and then show affection to kids as adults, we're really doing some great modeling for them, right? And, you know, physically, emotionally, their little bodies and their little spirits really need that kind of physical connection. So the way that so in my own studio, in my own school that I run, I've really developed such strong relationships with kids, and their parents know they can come in and out anytime. And it's a really open kind of community, trusting community. So I have no problem when we're doing an activity. I will say when we're doing maybe like during Savasana or even a learning activity that I think, you know, kids might need to have some physical connection. I will say, you know, put a thumb up, and if your thumb's up, I'll know that that's an okay, and I'll come by and do a little hand massage for you, right? If you've never done this with kids, it is amazing the way that kids of all ages will just completely calm themselves, refocus themselves if someone offers them just the little tiniest massage on their hands. I don't know any kids who don't love it, with the exception of kids who have experienced trauma or experienced anxiety, and that does take a bit more of a relationship and trust, and so that's something you're going to want to be really mindful of and be developing, not just assuming that every kid likes to be touched, right? Because some kids have had really bad experiences with touch and with consent, right? So we're going to obviously talk more about that, but something to pay attention to. So one way that I do this in a more accessible and safe and universal way is to use a little massage ball, right? So I will have kids, this is something that I find if we're in a group and the energy has just gone astray, right? Like they are either like going like energetic crazy, right? And I can't rein them back in to focus, or they're just like very negative. That happens. That happens in groups, right? Even with kids. So if the energy has gone off the track, I will bring my massage ball in to the group and ask everybody to get in a really comfortable, still place, and whoever is ready and wants one, I will just come by and do a little massage, little rolling massage on the hands and maybe up through like this like lower part of the arm, right? And it really becomes, it's again one of those really grounding activities, exercises, and it also encourages kids to recognize their own comforts and responses to physical touch. And that's important. So the massage ball I'll use again individually or in the group. And then last but not least, the bubbles. I love bubble activities. I think you can do so many mindful activities with bubbles. So one that I use a lot to really engage kids in, especially when we're working on, especially when we're working on sort of introducing mindfulness. So I will talk to kids about mindfulness being, meaning, like we've talked about, meaning that you're paying attention and then you're doing things on purpose. So paying attention means stillness, right? It means that you have to allow yourself to get really still, even for just a second, and you have to practice that, right? And you have to practice allowing your mind to become really still and settled. So bubbles are one of those activities that actually really tangibly allow kids to practice that kind of stillness and attention. And then from that, we practice this idea of intention, which with a lot of kids we talk about intention being something you do on purpose, right? So using these bubbles, we practice attention and stillness, and then we practice doing things on purpose. And so the way that I do this, and I'll show you this again when we've got kids around. The way that I do this though is in a group. Kids understand that this is a stillness activity, They are not to get up. They are not to move around. When I blow the bubbles, they need to pick one bubble and watch it, focus on it until it pops. So that could be, sometimes we sit here for a while until a bubble pops, right? But just pick one. You don't get up, you don't pop it, you just watch. And this is a really good way to access that idea of you have control over your mind and what it focuses on, right? And so you get to pick, you have control, you get to pick which one you focus on, and you attune to it and attend to it the whole time until it's gone. So that's the first thing we do. You can try it I don't know if you'll be able to see the bubbles on camera, but we blow them, we pick one, and so it just popped on the ground, right? And you should practice this too, because it's actually really soothing and really fun, and it's really a way, without kids even realizing, it's a way to calm and soothe the nervous system, right? Because it does exactly what we want mindfulness to do, which is create this space for our minds to really become still and become connected and present to what we're attending to, right? So let's do one more. So you pick one bubble and focus on it until it's gone. And I just happened to pick the big bubble that has not yet popped. So when that happens, I often will have kids, don't break your eye contact, don't break your focus on the bubble, but instead, it popped. But instead, use that as an opportunity to notice the bubble, right? So start noticing the size of it, the colors in it, where the light hits it, what the shine is like. So really start noticing that, right? Okay, so then the next piece is acting on purpose, doing something with intention. So now we do one round where they watch their bubble and they don't attempt to pop it, which is such an exercise of self-control for kids, right? They see these bubbles and they want to pop them. By any means necessary, they want to pop the bubbles. So it's such a good exercise when you can teach kids to really have that self-control, right? Because that's a big piece of what this mindfulness exercise is about. So you'll do one round where they watch it and they don't pop it, and then follow that up immediately with an exercise where they choose one and then they get to pop it, right? So what you're really teaching them is this idea of attention and intention. So you're paying attention, you're focusing, you're letting your mind and body become still, and that's your choice, and you're in control of that. And then you also get to act with intention. So the intention is one time you don't pop, you just watch and let it pop on its own, and then you act really intentionally the next time and do pop one, right? So it seems like a really simple activity, but I really find, and this is sort of a day one activity for introducing mindfulness to kids, I find that it does all the things that we want mindfulness to teach kids and how we want to practice. And it doesn't get old, right? So kids love bubbles. I love bubbles. So it's something that you can continue. I think we probably do this every meeting, right? So it's a way you can even start your classes this way, to say like, okay, it's our mindfulness bubbles time. This is going to be a way for you to still your body, still your mind, and then pay attention and act with intention and be in control of what you do. So that's another great activity. We have a lot more bubble activities that we will do. I'll continue to show you. There's a ton of variations. I'm sure you'll come up with lots of ideas. These are a must-have in your mindfulness and yoga space.